What if I told you that at 63 years old, a woman was mistaken for a fashion influencer outside of Lincoln Center, and that one moment changed everything, not just for her, but for thousands of women who'd been told their time to shine had passed. Lynn Slater didn't plan to become a style icon. She was a social worker, walking the streets of New York in her vintage finds and silver hair, simply being herself. Then cameras started flashing, bloggers started following, and suddenly, the world wanted to know, who is that woman? Here's what strikes me most about Lynn's story. She didn't wait for permission. She didn't follow the rules. At an age when society whispers that we should fade into the background, she stepped fully into the light. And darling, she's still there at 70, showing us exactly what's possible when you refuse to dim your own brilliance. Today, we're diving into the story of the accidental icon and the powerful lessons she's teaching us about style, courage, and becoming more visible with every passing year. 1. The moment that changed everything. There's something magical about accidental beginnings, isn't there? Lynn Slater's transformation into a fashion icon wasn't carefully orchestrated or meticulously planned. It was September 2014 during New York Fashion Week. Lynn was 63, dressed in her signature eclectic style, mixing vintage pieces with contemporary finds, her long silver hair flowing freely. She wasn't attending the shows. She was simply walking by. But the street-style photographers saw something different. They saw confidence. They saw originality. They saw a woman who looked absolutely certain of who she was. The cameras started clicking, and within hours, her image was everywhere. Fashion blogs, Instagram feeds, style websites. People were asking the same question. Who is this stunning woman? Lynn could have retreated. She could have explained it was all a mistake. Instead, she leaned in. She started her blog, Accidental Icon, and began sharing her philosophy on style, aging, and authenticity. What resonates with me is this. She didn't try to be younger. She didn't apologize for her age. She simply showed up as herself, and the world responded. 2. The power of not following the rules. Here's what Lynn Slater understands that many of us are still learning. Fashion rules are designed to keep us small. Don't wear mini skirts after 50. Cover your arms. Tone it down. Lynn looked at those rules and asked herself a better question. What if I simply dressed for joy? Her style is a beautiful rebellion. She mixes high and low, vintage and contemporary, masculine and feminine. She wears leather outfits. She pairs structured blazers with unexpected textures. She's not trying to look younger or older. She's simply expressing who she is right now, in this moment. What I find so inspiring is her approach to silver hair. In a world obsessed with covering gray, Lynn let hers grow into her signature. She turned what society calls giving up into a statement of power. Her silver hair isn't about age. It's about authenticity. It's about deciding that you're more interesting than any box someone else wants to put you in. Lynn teaches us that style isn't about following trends. It's about understanding yourself deeply enough to wear what makes you feel most alive. 3. From social worker to style icon. Let's talk about the beautiful complexity of Lynn's journey. For decades, she worked as a social worker and professor, helping others, serving her community, making a difference in ways that mattered. Fashion was her personal language, something she explored in her own time, away from the spotlight. This matters because it reminds us, reinvention doesn't require abandoning who you've been. Lynn didn't stop being a social worker when she became a style icon. She brought that same depth, that same commitment to empowerment into her new platform. She simply found a different way to reach people. Her background in social work infuses everything she does. When she talks about style, she's really talking about identity. When she discusses clothing choices, she's actually exploring self-expression and visibility. She understands that what we wear isn't superficial. It's deeply connected to how we see ourselves and how we move through the world. This is what I want you to hear. Your previous chapters don't disqualify you from your next ones. They enrich them. Lynn's years of helping others gave her the wisdom to help women reclaim their visibility through style. 4. The philosophy behind the icon. Lynn Slater's approach to fashion is built on principles that go far beyond clothing. She calls it iconoclasm, the practice of challenging conventional beliefs. And darling, this is where her message becomes truly transformative for women over 50. First, she believes in what she calls advanced style, the idea that style actually deepens with age. We're not losing our fashion relevance. We're gaining complexity, nuance, and the confidence to express it. Lynn argues that older women have earned the right to wear whatever moves them, free from the burden of seeking approval. Second, she champions visibility. In a culture that tries to make older women invisible, Lynn deliberately takes up space. She doesn't dress to blend in or disappear. She dresses to be seen, to be noticed, to spark conversations. This isn't vanity. It's resistance. It's a refusal to accept society's narrative about aging women. Third, she promotes what I call joyful experimentation. Lynn doesn't take fashion too seriously. She plays with it, enjoys it, treats getting dressed as a creative act rather than a chore. This playfulness is permission for all of us to lighten up. Now 5, key style lessons from Lynn's wardrobe. Now let's get practical. What can we actually learn from observing Lynn's style choices? I've studied her approach, and there are specific elements we can all embrace, regardless of our personal aesthetic. Lynn masters the art of proportion. She'll pair oversized pieces with fitted ones, creating visual interest and balance. A voluminous coat over slim pants, a structured jacket with flowing layers underneath. She understands that interesting silhouettes tell better stories than predictable ones. She's also fearless with texture. Leather, silk, wool, denim. Lynn mixes them in unexpected combinations. This creates depth and richness in her outfits. It's a reminder that texture is just as important as color when we're building visual impact. Color is another area where Lynn shines. While she often wears black as her base, she's not afraid of bold accent colors. A bright red lip, a splash of cobalt blue, strategic pops that draw the eye and create focal points. And here's what really sets her apart: confidence in accessories. Statement necklaces, interesting glasses, bold shoes. Lynn uses accessories to amplify her personal brand. They're not afterthoughts. They're integral to her visual storytelling. Number 6, building your own accidental icon moment. So how do we take Lynn's inspiration and make it our own? Because here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to be discovered outside Fashion Week to embrace this philosophy. Your own icon moment is available right now. Start by identifying what Lynn calls your authentic aesthetic. What did you love wearing before you started listening to everyone's opinions? What pieces in your closet make you feel most like yourself? Lynn encourages us to go back to those instincts, to reconnect with the style intuition we had before we learned to doubt it. Next, experiment with one rule you've been following out of habit. Maybe you've avoided patterns because someone once said they're too young. Maybe you've been wearing safe colors when you actually love jewel tones. Choose one rule to break, deliberately and joyfully. Notice how it feels. Build what I call your signature elements. Those consistent pieces that become part of your visual identity. For Lynn, it's silver hair and statement jewelry. For you, it might be a particular color palette, or always wearing interesting shoes, or collecting vintage scarves. These signatures make your style recognizable and uniquely yours. 7, the legacy and your invitation. Lynn Slater's impact extends far beyond her own Instagram feed or blog. At 70, she's proven something revolutionary: that women over 50 aren't a niche market or an afterthought. We're a powerful, beautiful, style-conscious demographic that deserves to be seen, celebrated, and served by the fashion industry. She's opened doors for other women to step into visibility. Through her platform, she's created a community. Thousands of women who support each other in dressing authentically, aging unapologetically, and rejecting the invisible cloak society tries to drape over us. This is activism through aesthetics, resistance through self-expression. But here's what moves me most about Lynn's story. She's showing us that it's never too late not to reinvent yourself, not to be discovered, not to step into a version of yourself that feels more true. 63 was her beginning. 70 is her continuation. And your age, whatever it is right now, is simply your starting point. So here's my question for you. What would your accidental icon moment look like? What would you wear if you weren't following anyone's rules but your own? Because, darling, the world is waiting to see you. Exactly as you are. Exactly as you want to be.